Oh, I'm ready for a little hummus. How about you? So let's look at that. It's just about gone. Well, I'm gonna have to make another batch of it. So hey, as long as we're at it, why don't we make a video and show other people how to do it too? It's a pretty exciting moment.
It certainly is.
This is our very first video that we had a lot of fun putting together. We learned a lot in the process, and we hope that you enjoy watching it, learn something from it, and want to go on and watch more of our videos in the future. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy. Okay, it's time to make another big batch of hummus. We're going to do that tomorrow, but now tonight we're going to get ready for it. Take dry garbanzo beans, chickpeas, they're called both things, 2 cups in a large pot, and then sort through them, because once in a while you find a bad one, and sometimes in the process you'll end up with a little gravel. So I put it in there, move it around. I had one bad one float to the top. I'm going to set that aside. Now, I'm going to take a big strainer. You don't want to miss this step, because again, you end up with contaminants on these dry beans. So we're going to take them over here. A little cold water, turn the sprayer on. Whoops. And I'm going to just rinse those quickly. Make sure all the dust, anything else that's on them is off. Alright. Drain that a little bit, doesn't matter if they're damp because you're going to get them wet anyway. We'll put them back in the pan. Put enough cold water in to cover the beans. About 1.5 inches, 2 inches of water. Better to have too much water than not enough, depending on how much they soak up overnight. Set them over here out of the way, put the lid on, and come back to it tomorrow. Another ingredient you will need to make your hummus is tahini. You can buy tahini in the store. It's pretty expensive and it doesn't have that great of a shelf life. So what we like to do is use a good high quality hulled sesame seed or raw seed that we will toast. And then after it's toasted, mix with some extra virgin olive oil. We prefer to use organic. And you'll also want to have on hand for this a 1 cup measure for measuring out the seeds for the toasting process, and a cookie sheet that you can put the toasted seeds on to help them cool to stop the toasting process before you put it in a food processor. And here's the pan I use to toast the seeds. You'll want to find a good, preferably stainless steel pan, and we'll go through that later in the video. Our chickpeas have been softening overnight. Let's take a look, see how they're doing. Looks like they've absorbed quite a bit of water and they're ready for the next step in the process. So, we're going to take our soaked beans, take them right over here to the sink, dump them into the colander. Had that colander for years. Fantastic piece of equipment. I'm going to rinse this just a little bit. Set it off to the side. I don't need to rinse these beans. I just need to put them back in the pan. Make sure I get them all out. Now we're going to put some cold water back in there. We're going to put maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches of water on the top. You can see that's very precise. Take it back over. Now, to speed the softening of these beans, a little trick here is you put about teaspoon of baking soda in, and a couple of teaspoons of salt. This is sea salt that I'm using. Nothing added to it. Now you may think, oh, that's a lot of salt. Well, actually, it just softens the beans, and this will all get rinsed off again after they're heated, so the beans really don't end up salty. Now I just turn the burner on, bring this to a boil, put the lid on to make it heat up faster. Once it comes to a boil, we're going to cut it back to a simmer and let it simmer for about 45 minutes to an hour. Check it at 45 minutes. If it's soft enough, and it often is, we can go ahead and we can drain it, let it cool, and go on to make our hummus. But in the meantime, we've got another job here. While that's cooking, I'm going to continue making the tahini that we talked about. I've got my cup of sesame seeds, set them in this pan. Then I'm going to turn the heat on. I'm using the big burner so I get a good distribution of heat. I'm using a stainless steel pan with the wafered copper in it to get a good even heat distribution. Now this is a job you have to stay on top of because I've got it about medium heat, and as they start to toast, you've got to keep moving them around, and just as they start to brown, we have to take them off the heat and cool them. And this won't take very long. And you will start to smell the aroma of the sesame seeds as they're cooking. I'm going to check periodically on the bottom to see if they're starting to brown up. Once they start, it doesn't take very long. You can't smell it, but I'm starting to smell the aroma, and you can see on the edges now I'm starting to get some browning. You see the color starting to change. Now we have to keep it moving so we don't burn it. And you are toasting these. It's the toasting that gives it that great flavor. Now it's starting to move quickly. Oh, and the aroma is just fabulous. And the seeds being toasted. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit now. I keep moving the pan to just keep it moving along the bottom, and then I use the spatula to make sure they get turned over so everything gets a chance to hit the bottom of the pan. We're very close right now. Okay. Now we want to stop the heating process. You've got to get it off the burner. Remember, this pan holds a lot of heat. So we just dump them onto this cookie tray, turn our burner off, shake it a little bit to move it around. We'll let it cool, and we'll come back in a little bit to put it in the food processor and continue making the tahini. All right, the water has heated up to a boil. I've turned it back to a slow simmer. I'm going to set the lid on just a little bit ajar so it doesn't boil over, and we're going to let those go for about 45 minutes and check them again for softness. If you enjoy what you've seen so far in this video, then please click on the like button and subscribe if you'd like to. And if you need more information about our channel, the kinds of things we'll be presenting in the future, well then please click on this link. It'll take you to a short introductory video that'll give you an idea of some of the topics we'll be covering. All right, Now our next step in making the tahini, we've got the cooled seeds in here. That's easy enough. Dump them in the food processor. And then we just simply add 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Distribute that on there. It's the oil that gives it the smooth consistency. You can add anywhere from 2 to 4. I've found that if I start out with 2, that's usually enough. If it looks a little dry, I might add some more. Put our top on. We're just going to pulse here. Try to get the oil mixed in with the seeds first of all, before we turn this on high speed. Now I'm going to put it on. We're going to let it run for a little bit until you start seeing a paste develop. So it's starting to settle down, starting to develop a paste. You can hear it change as you're hearing less rattling from the seeds and seeing more of a paste. I'm going to turn this off. And a couple of times in this process, we're going to have to push things down. Seeds are light, they like to float up to the top. Alright, push that off. I can see it, I'm going to need just a little bit more oil in this. I'm just going to put in about a half a tablespoon. Put my lid back on. You can see it picked up more of the seeds from the bottom. They're floating around pretty well with that oil in there. Now we're just going to let it run for a little bit. I've got a paste developing on the side really well. You can see it's throwing it off. It's really become a paste now. One more time, we're going to push stuff down because some of your unprocessed seeds have, again, pushed their way up onto the sides. Spin there. Good. We now have tahini. I'm going to lift this blade out of here. Very carefully make sure I get everything off from it. Now, this part's easy. I'm going to transfer it into a container for storage. Okay. Ready to use for the next step of making the hummus in a little bit. I've left the residue on the bottom because I'm going to be putting the cooked garbanzo beans in here later and adding hummus back in, or adding tahini back in to make the hummus. So we'll come back later when the beans are ready. Our timer just went off, so let's take a look. Got the beans turned off. See, they used up most all the water. So let's see if they're soft enough. Take your spoon and push it. Perfect. You don't want them too mushy. They got to have a little body to them, but they have to be soft in order to make hummus. What I have to do now is drain these, not rinse them, just drain them. But before I do that, we have to add water to the hummus as we're making it. But rather than add plain water, we're going to take some of that liquid that we cooked those beans in, transfer them to a measuring cup. We usually need about a half a cup of water. I'll just dump the beans in the colander. Let them drain. Remember, your pan is hot, so be careful you don't burn yourself. And I'm just going to set these on top of here so they finish draining into the pot. Now we just let them cool to room temperature. That'll be a little bit later on today, and we can continue the process of making the hummus. Hi, we've made it to the final step in the process of making hummus. I have put the drained and cooled garbanzo beans in the food processor. Next thing, I will add our 3 tablespoons of tahini. And I distribute those around the outside. That helps make sure they blend in evenly instead of having it all in one spot. Get it all off of here. Don't want to waste any. All right. 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. Again, I'll just put that in, distribute it around the sides so it blends evenly. 1 tablespoon of cumin. Sprinkle that around. And I have diced up and minced 3 fairly good sized garlic cloves to give it some extra flavor. And to help preserve it and give it a little extra flavor, I'm putting in 2 capfuls of lemon juice concentrate. Finally, to start out, of our reserved water from cooking the beans, I've got about a 1/2 cup here. I'm going to put about a 1/4 cup, roughly half of it in here to start with. That'll probably get us close to where we need to be. If it's a little dry, I can add a little more. You can always add some, but you can't take it back out if it gets too soft. Put our lid back on. I'm going to pulse this a little bit. Make sure everything works in. The pulsing action helps it bounce a little bit to get some of the larger beans down inside. All right, we're going to turn it on and we're going to let it run for about a minute, minute and a half. It'll all depend on how smooth this gets in that amount of time. Just looking at the clock. As this works in the food processor, you see it start to move a little faster, look a little smoother. You can watch as the beans are getting broken up. That's been running for about a minute. Let's see what we have for consistency. It's just a little thicker than I would like. We will add just a bit more of that water. About 1/8 of a cup. That should do it. Get that water blended in. Let's check, see how we're doing. Perfect. Nice, smooth, creamy consistency. What I'll do next is transfer it into some glass storage containers. Those work really well. And what we like to do is put it in more than one container. That way we can flavor this. One of these we'll put Italian seasoning in and let that sit and work the flavor in. Another one, I'll probably dice up some calamari and green olives and mix it in. That's another great flavor. Any of the flavors you see of hummus in the grocery store,
you can recreate those same flavors at home, just dicing things up, peppers or whatever, put it in, and you'll get that same flavor, only it'll be fresher. I hope you found this video useful, informative, and entertaining, and now are confident you can make your own hummus at home. Believe me, it's going to save you a lot of money over buying hummus in a store. It's going to have more flavor, and it won't have any preservatives in it. If you enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe. Thank you.
Well, now comes the fun part. What do you think? Give this hummus a try, see how it turned out?
You betcha. Let's go for it.
Yeah, we got some Italian seasoning hummus here today from that batch we just made, so let's give it a try. Oh, that is sat for a day with the Italian seasoning in it in the refrigerator, and it is just perfect.
Yummy.
We've never been able to buy hummus that tastes as good as what we've been making here. So, if you like hummus, and you're tired of paying the price in the store for hummus that who knows how long ago it was made, give this a try because this stuff is just fabulous. What do you think?
Oh, it's wonderful. I love it.
All right, well, I hope this was useful for you, and when you get to try to make hummus, it turns out for you as well. We'll catch you later. Thank you.